Welcome, weary travelers. Please make yourselves at home. I, Homer, shall tell you a tale as you rest your tired bones for a while. Long ago, where rugged cliffs meet glassy seas, there lived a unique people. These ancient people called themselves the Hellenes, but you probably know them better by their Roman name, the Greci, or in your tongue, the Greeks. The Greeks valued wisdom and beauty. They excelled in art, literature, architecture, and athletics, and they built their kingdoms to reflect these values. Now, please allow my fellow poet Hesiod to continue the tale.
The Greeks were surrounded by many neighbors who worshipped hideous gods of wood and stone, fearful gods who enjoyed human sacrifice. The Greeks prided themselves in being unlike their foolish neighbors. Instead of roughly carved, cruel, and barbaric gods, they fashioned their gods in the image of man with all its virtues and vices. The great playwright Sophocles will tell you more.
The gods resemble mankind well in both looks and manners, yet keeping in mind their love for beauty, the Greeks imagined beings who were mightier, more radiant, and wiser than mere mortals. The Greeks insisted that despite their vices, these gods were perfect and without fault. And they were perfect reflections of our own nature. The tales of these gods celebrated our strengths and revealed our weaknesses. Euripides, my fellow playwright, will carry on from here.
The Greeks imagined a glorious kingdom with their gods, but on tallest peak in their land, high atop Mount Olympus, the gods lived in a golden temple built by their immortal uncles, the Cyclops. Within the temple were 12 golden thrones, one for each of the most important gods. Unfortunately, mere mortals can never endure gazing upon the gods in all their radiance. And this grand pantheon can never be seen by mortal eyes, since the summit of Mount Olympus was always hidden in fluffy white clouds. So needed someone greater than me to continue the story. I'll call upon muses to help.
We have spoken to the gods and have good news to share. Dear mortals, just for today, the gods have seen fit to tone down their radiance and roll back the clouds so that you may behold them in their Olympian banquet hall. They have allowed for my siblings and I to guide you back to the time of the ancient Greeks, back to their rugged cliffs and glassy seas, back to their tales of beauty and wisdom. Please indulge us in some brief introductions. News of epics. Fortas fortuna yavat. Since fortune aids the brave, I moved writers to create exciting stories of heroism and bravery to inspire courage. Theo, news of history. Tempus fugit, time flies, so I helped mankind to keep a record of important events so that they would remember great accomplishments and learn from past mistakes.
Uranium, news of astronomy. Life in ancient Greece could be hard, but art austere, to the stars with difficulty, and inspire people to look to the stars and be encouraged.
Euterpe, news of music. Musica latificat cor, music warms the heart, therefore I inspire the Greeks to compose beautiful music. Terpsichore, muse of dance. I brought joy to mankind through dance. Nunc per libera posanda tellus. Now's the time to dance.
Erato, muse of lyrics. Omnia vincit amor, love conquers all. Therefore I inspired the Greeks to write love songs and poetry. Roses are red, violets are blue, there is no other audience as sweet as you.
Polyhymnia, muse of hymns. I enabled mankind to write songs of praise to the gods. For qui bene cantat bis ora, he who sings well praises twice.
Melpomene, muse of tragedy. Sic lacrimae rerum, there are tears for things. I am the master of the tragic and depressing. Some of the saddest tales ever told have been my creation. After all, who doesn't enjoy a good cry?
Isn't nice to meet you? Can you help laughing friends? Following news of comedy. Like many of you, I prefer stories with happy endings, so I lighten my sister's drama by inspiring joyful tales.
Let us begin with the history lesson before we enter Mount Olympus. It all started with my grandmother, Gaia. You see, for a long time she was all that existed, and since nothing and no one lived on her, she was lonely and downcast. But one day she happened to lift up her eyes and see my grandfather Uranus, the sky. He wore a crown which was speckled with bright shining stars and caught Gaia's eye quite easily. It was not long before Gaia and Uranus were married, both overjoyed to finally have some company.
Uranus quickly became known as the mighty lord of the universe. He was respected and feared by all. Soon after their marriage, Gaia became Mother Earth, bountiful and full of life. All living things arose from her. The couple's first set of children was the son of 12 glorious gods and goddesses, the Titans. My own mother, Mnemosyne, goddess of memory, was one of them. These gods were strong and mighty like their father, and beautiful like their mother. Uranus was very proud of them. Their second set of children was less beautiful to behold, but equally strong and talented. They were the three Cyclops, skilled metalsmiths, with one shining eye in the center of each of their foreheads. Uranus found them rather disgusting and did not take as much pride in them.
How hideous these children are, they're nothing like the Titans.
The third set of children were quite a sight. These three children each had 50 heads and 100 arms. Uranus was even more disgusted with them.
Dear wife, these are the worst ones yet. How can I allow such ugly creatures to spoil your beauty?
Cruelly, Uranus seized the Cyclopses and the 50-headed children and threw them in Tartarus, the darkest of all pits.
Poor Gaia was not pleased with this at all. She loved all her children and wished for them to be free. So after some thought, she fashioned a sickle and went to the Titans to ask for their help in defeating Uranus and rescuing her children. But only Cronus, the youngest Titan, was brave enough to volunteer.
Although I am young, I am strong. I will free my brothers using this sickle that my mother did.
Young Cronus was now the new lord of the universe. Perhaps he will learn from the mistakes of his father and show more kindness to his offspring. Let us continue on and see.
Cronus did not free his siblings as he had promised his mother. As a result, Gaia was very angry with him. Instead, Cronus married the Titaness Rhea and took pride in his power over the world. During his reign, mankind enjoyed a peaceful golden age, living a prosperous life, safe from theft and violence. It was a glorious age on the earth. However, it soon became clear that Cronus had learned nothing from his father's mistakes. Wanting to prevent his children from overthrowing him like he had done to his father, Cronus swallowed each of them as soon as they were born.
I cannot tell you how much this grieves me. My sisters have their children close by, but my children are torn away from me. Is there no one who can help me?
This is just the opportunity I was waiting for. Finally, a chance to save my grandchildren from their cruel father and have revenge on his son for my son for leaving his brothers in Tartarus. Dear child, mother will help. Come over and let me whisper a plan into your ear.
What a wonderful plan. Instead of my newborn son Zeus, I will give Cronus a rock.
Rhea hid Zeus on the island of Crete, where he was able to grow up safely. Cronus never knew he was there.
like his father before him. Zeus, the youngest of his siblings, soon grew to be the mightiest of the gods.
Now that I am grown, it's time for me to avenge my brothers and sisters. I will use this thunderbolt to defeat Cronus and rescue my siblings so they can share my power.
Zeus won a great victory over Cronus and became the next lord of the universe. He set the Cyclops free, sent the Titans to Tartarus and a few other spots, and asked the 50-headed children to stand guard at the gates of Tartarus. Mother Earth was not pleased with this outcome. Once again, some of her children were trapped in Tartarus. She tried a few times to overthrow Zeus, but never quite succeeded. It seems the fates wanted him in charge. Zeus ruled very differently than his father and grandfather. He was glad to share his power with his siblings and several of his children. He even requested a golden throne to be built for each of them. So now please make yourselves at home as we enter into the banquet hall of Mount Olympus. Here you will witness Hermes announcing the arrival of the gods, beginning with Zeus's siblings.
Her Majesty, Hera, the Queen of Olympus. I am the beautiful Queen of Olympus. I'm very jealous. Zeus fears nothing except my fits of temper. I detest all of Zeus's other wives, especially the mortal ones. Whenever I see that Zeus has another wife, I find a way to make her life miserable. One of my favorite torments is to send a swarm of gadflies after my enemies. Hestia, the goddess of the hearth.
I tend the sacred fire here on Mount Olympus, and every hearth on the earth is an altar to me. And like my sister Hera, I prefer gentleness and kindness.
Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, and her lovely daughter Persephone. I cause all plants and crops to grow, providing beauty and food for the people of earth. My daughter, Persephone, is my constant companion. I love her dearly and cannot bear to have her out of my sight. But one day, while I was visiting Earth, she was playing in the meadow. She wandered away from me. I did not know where my daughter had gone. I searched far and wide, but could not find my daughter. But, with the help of a swineherd, I soon discovered that she had been stolen by Hades.
Hades, my gloomy uncle.
I am the Lord of the Dead, and I stole Persephone. I am a god of few words.
Hades took me to the underworld. There I learned the mortals feared him so much they won't even say his name, lest they catch his attention. Instead, they call him the Rich One, because his realm contained all the precious things of the earth, like gold, silver, and gemstones. They also call him the Hospitable One, because he always has plenty of room for whoever enters his gates. After he stole me, I became his wife and queen of the underworld, though I did not want to stay.
Mom! Orpheus, who understands a thing or two about tragedy, will help me tell this part.
I understand Demeter's grief all too well, for I too lost someone dear to me. I once was a joyful musician, but then my sweet new bride relentlessly died on our wedding day. Even though I had the chance to get her back from the underworld, I lacked the faith I needed to succeed and not been able to see since. I'm sorry, no problem. I cannot bear to watch another family turn apart.
Orpheus, you poor thing, I will tell this tale for you. Zeus tried to persuade Hades to let Persephone return to her mother. However, because she had eaten some pomegranate seeds, she was required to spend 3 months of each year in the underworld. Each year, while Persephone was in the underworld, Demeter would grieve and nothing would grow on earth. Kind Demeter taught mankind to harvest crops and store food, so that people would not go hungry in the winter. Then, when Persephone returned to her mother, Demeter's joy would cause the whole earth to bloom, and mankind would rejoice in the return of spring.
Phew, I'm glad that worked out. I get nervous about that every year. And now here's Poseidon, lord of the sea.
Like the sea, I can be moody and unpredictable. People call me the earth shaker because when I hit my trident upon the ground, the earth shakes and cracks. And when I strike my trident upon the sea, huge waves rise up, destroying everything in its path. And when I am calm, the sea is still. You'll not often find me at home, being the creator of forces. I would rather race the waves from my swift steeds.
Now that all my siblings are seated, I declare to meet my Olympian children. Hermes, who do we have first?
Hephaestus, the god of smiths and fire.
I value peace and hard work, and I love my mother very much. You may have noticed my limp. I haven't always walked this way. You see, one day when my parents were arguing, I took his side. That made me so angry that he grabbed me by my legs and hurled me all the way down to the island of Lemnos. Ever since, I've walked unsteadily, as you now see. Despite my weak legs, I am a skilled metalsmith. In fact, I made these 12 thrones. What do you think of my handiwork?
Good job! Wow!
Thank you. Kind of.
Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty.
I am not a child of Zeus. I have neither a mother nor a father. One day I mysteriously rose out of the sea on a cushion of foam. The west wind spotted me and blew me to the island of Cythera. There the three graces greeted me and dressed me in fine garments. Then they sent me in a golden chariot to Mount Olympus. Zeus was worried that since I am so beautiful, the gods would fight to marry me. So he chose my husband Hephaestus for me. To be honest, I'd rather be married to tall and handsome Ares.
Well, look who it is. Ares, my tall and handsome brother.
I'm Ares, god, and I'm great. Some people think I'm cruel because I love fighting sick. I don't care which side I am on as long as there is much bloodshed. I have killed many with my sword. Ouch, Mommy, I hurt my finger!
Stop your wailing and be seated. Athena, the goddess of wisdom.
That is my brother. But none of us are very fond of him. He is so cruel and bloodthirsty, not to mention arrogant. I am my father's favorite child.
Hi, Daddy.
We have a very special bond. You see, I was born fully grown right out of my father's head. That's because he swallowed my mother, so he'd never be without her prudent counsel. This shield has helped me in many great battles, but unlike my brother Ares, I only fight for just causes. Perhaps you have heard of the city of Athens. I won that city in a contest against my uncle Poseidon. He gave the city a useless salty spring. I gave the city an olive tree with its many practical uses. Naturally, the people liked my gift better, so I showered the city of Athens with its many gifts of arts and crafts.
The radiant twins, Apollo and Artemis.
I am Apollo, the god of music, light, and reason, and this is my twin sister, Artemis.
I am the goddess of the hunt and all newborn creatures.
My father gave each of us these bows along with a set of arrows. My arrows are sharp and strong like the rays of the sun.
My arrows are as gentle as moonlight and give no pain to whomever they hit. I love the freedom of hunting in the woods so much that I asked my father if I could remain unmarried. He kindly consented, and so I remain a free young huntress forever. My brother and I have always been great friends, but things changed since I became friends with a talented hunter named Orion.
Since we shared the same hobby, Orion and I spent most of our time together, and Apollo was just plain jealous. Although Apollo sent a scorpion that killed Orion, I soon forgave him. Together we fashioned Orion's image into the brightest constellation of the winter sky. That way my dear friend will never be forgotten.
Being the god of music, I trained the musicians to sing beautiful melodies together. I used my lyre to help them tune their voices. I traded my entire herd of sacred white cows for this lyre, but I'll let my brother Hermes tell you that story.
Ooh, my turn. Hermes, god of a lot of things, at your service. I remember that day well. It all started when I decided to be an Olympian god. I was born in a cave, but being Zeus's son, I felt that I deserved to live on Mount Olympus. So one day, just after I was born, I stole 50 of Apollo's sacred white cows in a very clever way. Then I hid them, sacrificed 2 of them to the Olympian gods, and used their entrails to make the strings for the very first lyre. When Apollo came looking for me, I pretended to be innocent. Oddly, he didn't believe me. So he chased me up Mount Olympus, where Zeus encouraged me to make amends. I offered Apollo my lyre in exchange for all of his cows and his magic wand. Pretty good bargain, won't it, you agree? Zeus was so proud of my cleverness that he made me one of the Olympians. My plan had worked.
So you see, Hermes' ability to talk himself out of trouble and his quick thinking made him the perfect god of merchants, travelers, thieves, and all those who live by their wits. His cleverness made him well qualified for a few other jobs as well. For the gods, he acted as their herald, always knowing just the right words to say. For mankind, he graciously taught them to use words of persuasion to talk themselves out of trouble. He was great at helping merchants to close good deals and at teaching politicians to speak convincingly. A faithful guide, he kindly led travelers to the best roads and led the dead to their final home in the underworld. Now all thrones are full.
But wait, Dad has one more son, Dionysus, the jolly god of wine.
Are you kidding me? His mother was mortal. He can't join us. Besides, there are no more thrones.
He may have my throne. I'd rather be closer to the heart.
But
Enough, Hera. Come join us, son.
Thank you, Father and gracious Hestia. Hera is right. My mother was mortal and died before I was born, but my quick-thinking father sewed me under the skin of his own leg until it was time for my birth. I was raised by nymphs in the valley of Nysa, where I learned to make wine from the grapes that flourished there. I taught my skill to mankind and brought them much joy. That is when my father decided that it was time for me to come to Mount Olympus.
Now that we are all here, let us have some entertainment for our guests. I'm sure they will enjoy listening to the tales of some greatest heroes. Hercules, my strong son. Tell these fine people your tale.
I'd love to, Father. You know how much I love telling people about my strength. I gained most of my fame when I was sent to perform 12 impossible labors. One of my favorite labors was the 9-headed Hydra. Every time I cut off one of its heads, another would grow in its place. Thankfully, my charioteer was nearby by burning off the head so another would not grow back. It just comes to say that the strongest heroes sometimes could use a little help.
Dear Father, may we call upon Theseus, the greatest king of Athens?
Splendid idea. Bring forth Theseus.
I agree with Hercules. Heroes can always use a little help from their friends. In order to save my people, I had to find my way through a great labyrinth and put an end to the Minotaur, a horrible monster that was half man, half wolf. Thankfully, I had the help of the great architect, Daedalus. He gave me this magic ball of yarn, which guided me through the maze. I didn't have any weapons with me, so I killed the Minotaur with my bare hands. The people of Athens were thrilled to have a king who was willing to sacrifice his own life for his people.
And
Now I'd love to share this bounteous feast with you. Ganymede, are the nectar and ambrosia ready?
Yes, weigh in, waiting for you all. Shall we begin with nectar?
Yes, please.
'To everything there is a season, a time and purpose under heaven. The world of the gods was never meant to last forever. As with all human endeavors, the time of the great soon came to an end. Now, though all the muses are silent, their stories continue to be told, and as we rejoice the fact that the heavens declare the glory of God, we see the constellations designed by the ancient Greeks, and we are reminded of the tales which celebrate our strengths, reveal our weaknesses, and make plain our need for a God who is greater than anyone these myths can offer.